While there's pandemonium in the United States, the world's attention is off China at the moment. You know, I spoke earlier this year about the probability that China will try to annex Taiwan prior to the elections in the United States, and certainly while President Joe Biden holds the keys to the nuclear arsenal. And you may well ask, why are we hearing rhetoric from our government about the threat of China and a growing appetite for us, New Zealand, to be involved in Indo-Pacific affairs, particularly around the Philippines? There's also seems to be an appetite to increase our military spending, and that's not because they want to update the Prime Minister's plane, but to be combat ready. So there's lots happening. And with the attempted assassination on the former President Trump, what's China been up to in recent weeks? Well, let me tell you, Chinese troops have been sent to Belarus for military exercises. Dozens of Chinese military aircraft have been threatening Taiwan, and 4 Chinese military vessels were even detected off the coast of Alaska. Bet you didn't hear about that in the news. So why has China decided to become so aggressive all of a sudden? Well, right now, there is a sense of weakness in the White House, with Joe Biden facing endless questions about his competency, and those around him are focused on fighting for his political survival. So the question is, could foreign adversaries such as China use this window of opportunity to do things that they don't or may not normally attempt to do? Well, according to authorities, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense on July the 11th reported it had detected 66 Chinese military aircraft and vessels around the island. Apparently, they were en route to a Chinese military exercise in the Western Pacific. Now, when asked about the warplanes crossing the median line at the regular press briefing in Beijing, China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian avoided directly responding and saying the determination of China to safeguard its sovereignty and territorial integrity remains unrelenting. Now, the CCP insists that Taiwan is Chinese territory, and the Biden administration has been warned that reunification will take place at some point. Well, let us hope that the Chinese don't choose to use this current window of opportunity to reunify with Taiwan, because the moment that they invade, the USA will be at war with China, and basically everything will change. According to the Taiwanese Coast Guard, the Chinese have been aggressively probing Taiwan's maritime defences. During the first 6 months of this year, the Taiwanese Coast Guard administration drove away 567 Chinese boats and seized 7 illegally operating in Taiwanese waters in the first 6 months of this year. And the Chinese, according to the US Coast Guard, well, they've been sniffing around the US coastline, reporting 4 Chinese military vessels were just spotted off the coast of Alaska. At the same time these Chinese military ships were spotted, the Coast Guard officials said that in a news release that the reason that this incident is noteworthy is because it's very unusual. Chinese military vessels don't normally operate so far north. Well, most people don't realise this, but China now has the largest navy on the entire planet. I was somewhat surprised at a statement made by one senator in the US when he stated, I don't know how we allowed that to happen, but we did. Well, not sure if you're ready for this little gem as well, but it turns out the military industry in the United States has become extremely dependent on the Chinese. For example, it's being reported a large number of Chinese semiconductors are used in critical military platforms, accounting for around 40% of all US Department of Defense weapons, systems and infrastructure, and they're further linked to military supply chains such as the Patriot air defense missiles and B-2 bombers. Now, let me give you an example. A Lockheed Martin missile factory situated in Alabama produces Javelin anti-tank weapons, which use more than 200 semiconductors in each weapon. Now, this equates to thousands of Chinese-made semiconductors within US weaponry. The reports state, though, that the US companies at the bottom of the supply chain pyramid, they often source these parts from China in an open market transaction. As a result, many essential components and sensitive US military systems, well, they now come from China. Countless major weapons platforms are vulnerable. We all know that Joe Biden's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but come on, you just can't make this stuff up. Did anyone consider the fact that one day, just one day, the US might actually end up in a war with China? Now, you may want to go back and have a listen to some of our past videos to have a listen to what we've been saying about the whole situation. It's all factual, all research. We haven't made any of it up, but I'll tell you what, it's just plain scary, to be honest. We'll put the titles up at the end. Scary, I said scary, and as a Christian, I've always pondered why the United States is not featured in the scriptures around Armageddon, and here are two relevant reasons why. One, the Americas were not on any map in the days of the writers. In fact, they weren't discovered. And most older people will agree with me, the USA, well, they're the Johnny-come-latelys in the world. Number two, look at the USA today. It's financially and morally broke and on the verge of imploding upon itself. There is the answer. Now think about it. If the United States no longer features as the policeman for the free world and we see the rise of the forceful axis of Iran, China and Russia forming, what hope is there for mankind? The book of Revelation in the Bible names the players of the Battle of Armageddon. Do you know who they are and what it means for you and I at the bottom of the world? Have a chat with someone from your local church or reach out to us and we can put you in touch with someone who understands the times in which we live and what steps that we need to take to survive.